Andy Backert, am I saying Backert?
Backert.
Andy has been volunteering with Friends in Action International since 2002 and has had the opportunity to work on multiple field projects around the world, like Nicaragua, Peru, West Africa, Uganda, and has most recently returned from his second trip to Vanuatu. Andy is married to his high school sweetheart, raised 2 children, and owns his own business. Since 1994, Andy has worked in the welding and fabrication industry, experiencing both hands-on and management roles throughout the years. After years of executive management and entrepreneurship, God called him into full-time ministry with FIA. Now as Chief Operating Officer of Friends in Action International, he is responsible for domestic operations of FIA USA, which includes staff support, communications, finance, IT, shipping, HR, and risk management. And he also manages public relations and leadership team development. So, welcome.
Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for having me here today. I do have a lot to share because probably none of you in this room have heard of Friends in Action International, and we are just down Harrisburg Pike next to Zeger's Hardwood. So, just across from the old Saturdays Market, and the big warehouse that they're putting up down there. So, we've been local for 30 plus years, but not well known. So that's part of my responsibility. As you mentioned, part of my responsibility is getting out and making awareness, getting out in the public. I'm very familiar with Elizabethtown. I graduated from Elizabethtown High School. My wife as well graduated from Elizabethtown High School in 1994, many years ago by now. Wow. So, but I've been in Elizabethtown area pretty much all my life. We moved from Columbia when I was about 10 years old into E-Town. At the time I was going to Mount Calvary Christian School, and then got moved into E-Town and the public school system. So my wife and I are very familiar. I grew up on Washington Street, right down the road here. So again, these are my stomping grounds in this area. So E-Town is near and dear to my heart. Maybe in high school you think, man, I'm going to blow this town when I get out of here. Well, I'm back. So we've moved to Mountjoy very slightly early on in our marriage for 2 years maybe, and then we came back to E-Town. So our heart is here, and just enjoy being part of the community. But why am I here? So Denise had asked me, as we joined the chamber recently, again for another awareness, to be part of the community. Denise asked me to be here today and present what Friends in Action is. So I will keep it brief because we are, she gave me about 20-25 minutes, and a lot of my content is in videos because that's how I enjoy things. I'm very picture and video oriented, and it's Friday afternoon, you guys just ate, and you don't want me to stand up here for the next 20 minutes and speak to you. You want to see some videos. So Friends in Action International exists to help accelerate the gospel and support missions and missionaries around the world. We do that through construction and infrastructure projects. So we're the construction arm of mission industry. If a missionary goes out in the field and they have, they're there to share the gospel, but they may not be equipped to build their house. That's where Friends in Action comes in. We support them accelerating the gospel to the hard to reach places, and you'll see that in some of the videos, in order to let them do what God has given them to do and what God has given us to do with our hands and feet, to be in there as tradesmen and skilled laborers to be able to construct and do that to support them. So that's what we do in a nutshell. We also do have an international shipping department out of our warehouse outside of E-Town, and that we just shipped our 7th sea container. It's going to Guinea. We just shipped that last week. Griner Industries helps us load them up on trailers and we get them out. So we ship sea containers, crates, boxes, anything that we can do to help accelerate missionaries' goods and household goods, equipment, materials for the projects, anything we can do to support them through international shipping. We do that out of our warehouse there. So that's another branch of our ministry as well. The first video I'm going to show you is just a brief overview of what we do. And yeah, I'll start from there.
Celebrating 30 years of Friends in Action. The story of Friends in Action International is a story built on the framework of the Great Commission. It's why we do what we do. Jesus' words of challenge really is the start to our story. Whether you're praying, giving, or going with FIA on mission, you're partnering in this Great Commission work that began for us way back in 1992. The founders of FIA recognized that something had to be done to better provide support for missionaries living in remote locations around the world. As a result, the vision for FIA was born: to support mission work in areas of limited infrastructure by using construction projects and practical service to speed the gospel to those who never heard the good news of Jesus Christ, moving earth to share heaven.
We knew there was a great need for what Friends in Action is doing among missionaries, but I don't think any of the original board could have envisioned all that God has done over the past 30 years. It's truly humbling and amazing.
There have been a lot of changes since those early years. While the story starts with one couple running a prayer chain and traveling in an RV to host awareness banquets in the U.S., the story has grown to involve a global staff making international impacts. Talk about God multiplying fish and loaves.
In our 30-year history, more than 2,500 missionaries have overcome obstacles and broadened their impact of gospel ministry through the support of FIA. Helping by way of construction and community development, equipment support, mechanical services, logistics, and international shipping, we have been privileged to help our partners bring the gospel of Jesus Christ to over 1 million people around the world. FI's story is not a tale of what we are doing, but instead what God has done. It's by His hand and through His provision that all this has been accomplished. We are hard at work with projects in some of the deepest valleys, densest jungles, and driest deserts in some of the hard-to-reach places of the world. Our team is willing to go the distance to help missionaries travel deeper, reach further, and stay longer to share the life-giving gospel of Jesus Christ. As we look forward, doors are opening for Friends in Action to broaden our impact as we branch into new countries with new partners and opportunities to accelerate the gospel work. The FIA Shipping Ministry, now based in Middleton, PA, continues to consolidate and send mission-critical cargo and supplies around the world. Partnering with over 1,000 missionaries and frontline gospel workers, a difference is being made in the 58 countries being served. As we consider 30 years of ministry, over 300,000 people have seen the Lord at work and heard of His love through the hundreds of construction projects headed by FIA. Partnering with the Bolivian National Church to develop a radio ministry, more than 225,000 indigenous and national people in Bolivia and Brazil have been hearing the truth and teachings of Jesus through 24/7 radio broadcasts into the Amazon jungles. People are receiving clean water through FI's well drilling and clean water projects in Africa, Nicaragua, and Vanuatu. Each well, each project in each village has a story, and in each place they learn of Jesus, the living water. More than 15,000 people have received immediate physical and spiritual care through crisis and medical relief work in the countries of Moldova, Bolivia, and Vanuatu, where FI serves alongside partners to bring help when it's needed most, through it all pointing to Jesus. Recognizing the importance of training up the next generation of Christ followers and fellow servants for the gospel, FIA has partnered with various groups in the countries of Papua New Guinea, Nicaragua, Bolivia, and Moldova to support the development of life skills and educational training programs. Over the past 20 years, thousands of people, young and old, have been equipped to stand in the faith with the goal to help them thrive in the places they are called to live for Jesus. More than 5,000 donors have stood by our side and empowered transformation through financial investments in the Great Commission work of Friends in Action. We couldn't have done it without you. For the past 30 years, we have seen over 1,200 volunteers challenged and grow in their faith by partnering behind the scenes or traveling on one of the 175 trips to serve in some of the remote parts of the world. And we are not stopping there, or even slowing down. With 30 years of incredible life-transforming momentum behind us, FIA stands ready to take the next step forward, by God's grace, to make even greater eternal impact among unreached people groups for the sake of the gospel. Thank you for being an important part of Friends in Action's continuing story. We are so grateful to celebrate this important anniversary milestone with you. Join us as we pray, give, and go to help make Jesus known to the last, the lost, and the least, wherever He calls us, until all have heard.
brief overview of what we have done in the last 30 years. This video was made for our 30th anniversary banquet last year. We have an upcoming banquet in October this year. Again, it's an appreciation and an awareness dinner. So I do have more information if any of you are interested in that. But that was Matt Durkee. He is our executive director, and his office is in Canada. We have a small Canada office as well. So that brings me back to, well, Andy, why are you here, and what brought you to FIA? So my background right out of high school was welding and fabrication. I actually took an elective it was Farm Ag. It was part of the ag program there in the high school, in the welding lab. And I actually was told by my instructor, you may want to look into a different career than welding. You didn't do so well. So with that, I got determined, and shortly out of high school, I went to High Steel Structures down in Lancaster, a very large bridge fabricator here in Pennsylvania, and they've taught me so much and gave me so much background in the industry. From there, I was recruited to Griner Industries right down the road here. Frank Griner and I worked well together for about 10 years, and then I got recruited from there into Bass Mechanical, which used to be a small mechanical fabrication shop just up the road. It actually used to be Frank's first shop. And I worked there a little bit in executive management. And then I headed to Reading to help run a welding and fabrication company in Reading. That was really a stretch for me, as it was about an hour drive both ways, but I was always in the welding and fabrication industry. And it was in 2021 where I felt God calling me into something bigger. Like you mentioned, I've been volunteering with FIA since 2002. I know what they did, and I knew what I could be a part of, but there was something more. And that's when my wife and I decided to kind of leave the executive management career and join FIA full-time as missionaries here domestically. We do travel. I've lost track how many trips I've taken. I was in Uganda earlier this year, and my wife and I just got back from Vanuatu in August. Vanuatu is a South Pacific island off the east coast of Australia. So think of Fiji Island. That's where Vanuatu is. It's basically on the other side of the world. My wife welds alongside me. I taught her to weld in 2018 when we first went to Vanuatu. But we've both been in Peru laying ceramic tile and missionary houses and other projects as well. So that's what brought me here, is my love for the trade. I realize that I'm not a preacher. It's a stretch for me to be up here in front of all you this morning, or this afternoon, just publicly speaking. So I know that God blessed me with my welding and construction abilities, and that's what got me there. So we celebrated our 30th anniversary last year, and that's kind of gives some of the milestones that we met in Bolivia, West Africa, Nicaragua, Vanuatu, Papua New Guinea, and Moldova. So we are in Papua New Guinea. We have some missionaries that represent us there, and they're doing mechanical and a boat ministry as well. So they work with indigenous people to help understand mechanics and machinery, engines. They also have a sawmill there that they do a lot of wood cutting and cabinetry making. But through that, the missionary is able to help share the gospel with the indigenous guys there. It brings them into the mechanic shop in Papua New Guinea and is able to teach them a trade, a sustainable trade for themselves, along with sharing the word. So Vanuatu, that's an idea where they are, just off the east coast of Australia. And it's quite an island. It's a very friendly place. The U.S. actually had an Air Force base on the island of Santo, where we're based out of. In World War II, so there is a lot of English or American influence there. So it's a very friendly country to be in, but again, it's a very beautiful tropical island, but they need a lot of help and infrastructure and support. So our team went over to do some welding and fabrication on some roof trusses that are going to be part of a mechanics garage. It's going to help teach mechanics and help repair other missionary vehicles that they can get out into the bush more frequently to the villages. This is what it looked like before we left. About 2 weeks we fabricated all that steel and erected it. So it's going to be a new roof and a new addition onto the mechanic shop that's already existing there. That'll, again, help support missionaries that are trying to do vehicle ministry and actually get out into the bush to be able to share the word. I did mention a water project, I think earlier on to Marty. So this is our next big endeavor, a very, very big endeavor. There's an artesian well up in the mountains of Vanuatu, and it just bubbles out of the ground at about 70 gallons a minute. So it's quite healthy, but it's about an hour to 2 hours walk from any village because it's on the top of the mountain. So we've been asked by Pastor Gabby, the gentleman there standing right over the top of the pipe, we've been asked by him to figure out how to run a pipeline down the mountain and into villages. It's about 16 miles of pipeline. We're gonna run it into villages and 3 schools and 2 clinics. And that will allow them to have fresh, clean water right into their village. We've worked with Messiah University to understand the engineering and design of the pipeline. And they have been over to Vanuatu a few times, and they're gonna be part of the project as well. So it's been neat to work with the engineering department at Messiah. So that's the pipe coming out of the artesian well out of the ground, and it's still in the bucket and just overflowing. So that's what we're hoping to capture in a pipeline, and then have about 3 to 4 holding tanks that they've designed to take away some of the head pressure. Nevon children crowd around the missionaries' legs, holding their thumbs up and the peace sign, wanting them to take their pictures. And this is why Vanuatu is known as the friendliest place on earth. The Nevon people love storytelling and joking with one another. They laugh easily and are extremely hospitable, welcoming us to their villages that lie deep within the interior of the tiny South Pacific islands of Vanuatu. The landscape is beautiful, yet uninviting, as jungle debris and mountainous regions create infrastructure limitations in this region sculpted out of volcanic ash. It's difficult to reconcile these amiable people and the sorcery, witchcraft, spirit worship, and false teaching in which they are immersed. It's almost unfathomable that some of them were cannibals until the 1980s. The enemy continues to torment them with lies and false hope, telling them that religion and all of its rules and regulations will bring them peace. The local witch doctor sometimes looks very much like any other Nevon villager wearing a t-shirt and shorts. Other times, donned in a traditional outfit wearing a small waistcloth and strategically placed palm leaves. In Vanuatu, the witch doctor holds a great deal of power and influence, as the villagers believe he's endowed with special abilities to heal or to harm them, as well as control the climate and seasons. They also believe that the witch doctor owns control of the water supply. The villagers' needs are desperate, both spiritually and physically. Friends in Action partners with national leaders and missionaries who walk for days to connect other unreached villages. One such national partner is Pastor Gabby. Pastor Gabby approached FIA asking for help with the water project to benefit the Nevon people. He knows that if we bring the villagers clean water, their hearts will be open to hear about Jesus.
The containers here is here for collecting the water. We used to cook and to wash all the dishes, the plates, also wash clothes.
When we just came up, there was a pig inside that one there. Yep. And they use this for collecting water. Sometimes dogs are drinking out of it, and it's just the rainwater off the roof.
Current villagers, usually women or children, make an unsafe journey on foot for more than 2 hours round trip to bring unsanitary, disease-carrying water to their homes. The rain containment systems of the Nevon people cannot provide enough water to last through the dry season, and the little water they can catch is often contaminated by animals, worms, and jungle debris. A Category 5 cyclone leveled the islands in April of 2020, further exacerbating the villagers' desperate need for water and resources.
Okay, good morning. Me and me Alvin, me Ploma Kandoi, and me one mama. We start blessing me like pin color current long time. We like come through or picking you know kakai, we like cook, you know cut water, or picking on the start of school and you know kakase water from the school day, or the afternoon water. A long way long me kalam bless I will walk past 1 hour to catch water I come back. Now picking no lino kakai, one picking me from me and me seed from no kakai. One where me kakai one kakai, me no was a man, me like touch some kakai. One is sick in caramel color, clinic lo mangwara and me soap in from me kakai 30 in no cat water. Motu or close or start me blame sa wasn't close from what I long one. Ilong when blame sa karem or picking ni potan and me had 2 months local catch and water come back with them on close.
Waterborne diseases such as scabies, skin disease, and malaria are the 3 most common health issues in Vanuatu. Children are most affected by diarrhea, dehydration, and malnutrition. Too ill to attend school, children must care for sick family members or fetch water instead of going to class. When children are unable to get an education due to water issues, the entire community is adversely affected, resulting in further poverty.
Okay, never me Manuel. Me one is Patisina, one National Western Patisina. Me initially population 2,324. Inside the area, we got 500 plus villages, communities. 500 plus households. Villages, I think I mean 50 to 60 plus villages. Water mobilization over there and one small creek under it. When we play collect the water in one tank, they can find one storage tank, 2 storage tank. By the time we play, we can cover the water, then we can dry season.
Local medical clinics in Vanuatu also suffer greatly due to water shortages. Clinics clean their instruments and treat patients from a water tank supplied with ponded water contaminated by cow excrement. During the dry season, even this area evaporates, requiring access to more remote alternate sources of water that must be treated with costly chlorine. The medical clinics desperately need clean water to care for the individuals properly and help improve the overall health of the Nivan people.
Okay, here we are in the mountains of Vanuatu, up in the Big Bay region, in the village of Unaman, doing a survey to see if we can get this water that you see flowing in front of us to 30 villages down below this mountain. Friends in Action is excited about seeing this project accomplished to bring the Word of God into each of those villages and to demonstrate the love of Christ to them.
To respond to Pastor Gabby's request, FIA is undertaking a massive, zero-energy footprint water project that will run 16 miles of gravity-fed piping from a clean mountain source to 30 villages, 2 clinics, and 3 schools below. This water source, providing 48 gallons of clean water per minute, has secured more than enough drinking water to provide for over 3,500 villagers. Clean water is the single most significant opportunity for change in the Nivan's lives, as its effects reach every other activity and relationship. We know that water, as well as the life skills and hygiene education the villagers receive, will result in decreased disease, dehydration, malnutrition, missed work, and forfeited education for thousands of vulnerable villagers. Clean water, properly irrigating their gardens and animals, as well as empowering hundreds of women and children through safety and continued education, will be their life-changing daily reminder of Jesus, the living water. So that was a little bit of a longer video, but it explains a little bit the need for fresh water, the need for skilled tradesmen to be able to go over and lay the pipeline, to train the Nivans on how to maintain it, how to maintain their wells, how to do a proper wash system so they are filling dirty buckets with clean water. So it's quite a project. It's been we've been raising funds for it and gathering equipment and manpower for quite a few years. The video was made a few years ago, but as you see, he said it was about 40 gallons a minute. When Susie and I were there, they registered at 70 gallons a minute. So it's not losing water, it's increasing water. So it's encouraging to see as next year we plan on breaking ground on this project. So I'll flip through these a little bit quicker. So in West Africa, we have a drill rig ministry that takes the drill rig around to different villages when pastors ask for them to come in and produce a water well. Then the pastor and the villagers are responsible to maintain it and to monitor the well and the pump system. So that's one of the ministries we do there. In Nicaragua, we're working with the Ramake people. They're on a crowded island right now off the coast. And we want to, they have a desire, and they came to us with a request to build a new village on the mainland. Because their village on the island is overcrowded and unsanitary. So down there is Ramake, that's their current village they're living on, and the village that we're starting to build for them at their request is up there in the corner. And what's neat about that is we're able to train the Rama men and young men about construction, construction training and the skills needed to build the houses, build the kitchen. The next project that we're working on, we were just down earlier this year, and we have a team going back in December, is going to be a kitchen project, which I'll get that slide. We also had a playground equipment donated from someone here in the United States that wanted it installed for the Rama children. So we were able to even do some fun stuff, not just always construction. So we installed this back in 2019, and the children just love to have the playground equipment, something that they're just not used to seeing. So it's again, we have people come back this year and say they still love to play on it and to carry on. So what an impact. Again, like I said, we work with them to teach them the construction skills. So here was earlier this year where they're starting to level out the ground for the new kitchen and community center. So that's about the rough drawing, the rough layout of what that's going to look like. But again, we encourage and we gather up the Rama men and young men to help us and the way they can learn fabrication, masonry, excavating, and things like that. We were also in Peru. My wife and I were in Peru December, and this is one of the missionary houses that we built. So again, a lot of trade skills, the whole gamut of different construction skills. There's my wife finishing some tile. I'll skip that video. It's just it's a video that we got from one of the team members on it that just experienced his first experience on a missions trip and how it impacted him as well as part of being on that construction team. And I was in Uganda earlier this year, and this is just a new ministry for us. So we had a missionary ask for us to come and help build their house in the village so they could move out of the city and start ministering to the village guys, young men and women. But there was also a need there to teach the men a sustainable trade. And that was the desire, and you'll see in my video, it's a desire of James, the missionary there, to really have these young men learn a sustainable skill so they can create sustainable income for their families and bring them out of some poverty and help support that. We have, I'll play this one here.
My name is Andy Bockert, and I'm from Friends in Action International. We are a mission organization that does construction and infrastructure projects to help spread the gospel. I'm enjoying the time that they're showing us how they do construction here in Uganda, and that we can help them do construction as well. And it's been a fun time getting to know the young men here in the community.
Friends in Action. I can't say enough. I want to say thank you so much to Friends in Action. Call upon Friends in Action to come and be part of the journey we're having in the village of Yosemite in Wero, Uganda. And it was short notice, and God was so gracious. They fit us in their schedule, and we were able to send men to come and help us out on completing our home here in the village. One of the hardest things in our ministry was we had to come to the village and then go back every evening, which was costly for us, but also it was hard for us to build relationships because we come in at around 9 a.m. and leave at 5 p.m. There's so much we miss that happens in the course of the evening and early mornings. When I was asking Friends in Action to come, my hope and prayer was they come with equipment and they teach the young guys in the village how to use the equipment. While they help us finish our house. It's been amazing. It's been so good to see these young men holding a saw for the first time and smile to see how fast this machine works. They used to do hard labor, manual labor, but the fact that they get a chance to hold these machines and see how they work and how these machines make work easy, it was such an awesome moment to watch.
This trip has been different because we've worked right next to the community, the men here. This has been a neat experience to help train and help teach the men here how to do some of the construction skills.
Nimusanyufu nnyo olw'ebintu byenyigirizibwa wano ku sayiti kati mba nsobola okukola ebintu eby'enjawulo bye mbadde simanyi bulamu bwange enyigirizaku obwobwange ate nga byakubeerawo olubeerera bulamu bwange oza paka kufa kwange. Mr. Andy, ebintu byemuyigiddeko bingi nnyo gamba nyigiriza kusiba tayozi, kuteekamu enzigi mu ngeri etali yakumenyeka, kugamba ebintu byemuyigiddeko bingi nnyo. Wakati ekintu kyenjize kyanjawulo nnyo kuba oyinza n'okwesanga nga kukyala abantu kwegamba abakimanyi banaabaako batono n'okubaako omu.
I feel that this is a good opportunity to leave some knowledge here with the men so they can do construction throughout the community and other places and earn an income and to be able to help James with his next project.
Nga sinnaba kujja wano nali mpeereza musenyu kwegamba nga sina nasuubi oba nsobola okuyiga okuzimba naye twakwatagana ne James nga banandeeta wano era netandika okuyiga okuzimba mpola mpola era nankwasa ande egamba anyigirize okusiba televisi era kati manyi twalizawo mumanyi okusiba televisi okubeera kamera kyambi suubi ebiseera binga sinaba kujja wano nali siina suubi osanga nina kyensobola okuba naye kati nafuna essuubi nti nange mumaaso biseera by'omu maaso nsobola okubaako nekyensobola okwekolera ng'omuntu.
So each morning we've had devotions. Different man from the team has shared a little bit out of the scripture and prayed together. And it's been an interesting time to come together as a whole team with the men here in the village and with our team from Friends in Action to be able to share some scripture and prayer with each other, to kick the morning off, to kick the project off each day, glorifying God.
Obulamu bwange agamba oba n'omutima gwange n'okutegeera nti ebintu bwendooza gye mbadde birowoozaamu siije n'okutambula. So olwekyo funyeemu okukakanyizibwa omutima gwange n'okweyongera okutegeera Katonda yange.
Three Dudes Tile Company. All right, so that's a lot of content, but that really wraps up who we are at Friends in Action to support mission and missionaries through construction and infrastructure. We use a lot of volunteer teams. That's one of the biggest challenges, is to try to get out and get volunteers from churches, from universities, from schools, from men's groups, anything like that, that we can get people that have no skill to very skilled. I mean, there's oftentimes we just need guys to come and paint, or to help clean up, or to mix mud. My son was 12 when he went to Vanuatu with us in 2018, and he did great just carrying stuff for the guys. He would go get water, and he'd go get tools, and he'd mix sand with the concrete. So it's a ministry for everyone, honestly. And that's why I'm passionate about it, because again, I feel like I've been blessed to be able to have these skills, to be able to bless others through this organization. Oftentimes, what we've done in that last video was train, again, like I said, we try to bring on the villagers, but also train them and leave tools. So we left about $5,000 worth of Milwaukee hand tools there. along with a welder. And that's gonna stay there, and the missionary's gonna use that to continue training with them young men. We were blessed to have a church be able to donate some money toward those tools, so it was just neat for us to be able to take it, and like James said, you know, some of the guys never even saw electric saw. I mean, it was fun to see their expressions, to see a drill, and to see a saw. So it just is a huge passion for us. But I'll wrap it up and just say that that's who Friends in Action is. We're just, again, outside of Elizabethtown up Harrisburg Pike. If you ever want to stop by, I have some information up here on the table. If you ever want to stop by and take a tour and just see what we do, please feel free to do that. I'm usually there most of the time if I'm not at events like this. Or if you have a church or a group that you'd like me to speak in, or one of our staff to speak in, just for an awareness, or if you think there's guys or volunteers that would be interested in going. We sent about 20 trips out this year. We have 3 more to go, and it looks like we're close to 30 for next year. So that's a lot of volunteers. We have team sizes anywhere from 5 to 15 people. So, Lord willing, we'll be able to bless a lot more people again next year. So, thank you.
Anybody have any questions before we wrap it up?
Each
Yeah, Marty.
trip, how long does it take? I mean, how long would they spend there when they go out?
Usually it's 2 weeks. Now, we're anticipating the project in Vanuatu. We actually have slots available for guys that want to go for like a month on end, just because it's such a huge project. We have some equipment operators that are retired that are just going to go over and stay for about a month. So it can go anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, especially on that project.
And everybody raises their own money to go then?
Yep, so the volunteers, they either have friends or family that help support them for the trip, or church, or they're members of churches or part of organizations or groups that help fund them to go there. Yeah, it's all self-funded. But we get them from point A to point B. We take care of the in-country lodging, the travel. Once you raise the funds that was estimated for that trip, we take care of all the logistic part of it.